Hey everybody, welcome back. Hope you're all doing well. Today we are going to talk about how to get signal from a channel to a monitor in live sound. This is presuming you already have your PA setup. We'll talk about PA setup in a future video, kind of all the components you'll need and everything, but this is assuming that you already have everything set up. You may be walking into a theater where everything is wired up, or a venue, and you just need to know how to get from point A to point B. So it's going to be a little weird because we're showing what is a live sound concept in Pro Tools, but the fundamentals work the same way. Hoping in the future to make a video where we can actually have a mixer set up with a full PA system. Working on that. Hopefully we'll have that up in the next few weeks here, but the concepts remain the same. So let's talk about our session here. We're just going to be working with a drum track from a recording, and we're going to assume that we have different monitor mixes that we want to send this to. So I will create in Pro Tools 4 different monitor sends, and we'll see exactly what we're talking about. In Pro Tools, this is aux sends, but let's think of these as monitors for now. So we'll label these monitor 1, monitory 2, and 3, and 4. Okay, so we've got those set up. So what exactly is a monitor used for? Well, if you are a performer on stage, be that speaker, musician, whatever the situation is, you're going to need a way to hear yourself on stage. Everything that we do in live sound is primarily going to be affecting what is coming out of the mains, which is the speakers that face the audience. So we need a way to be able to send specific things through a monitor so that a performer can hear exactly what they need to hear to be able to do what they do. So in this situation, we've got 4 different monitor mixes. Let's just start with monitor 1. Let's say monitor 1 here is the bass player, and they just want to hear the kick drum and a little bit of the overheads in their monitor. They've got a bass amp on stage, so they're all set up. Cool. How do we do that? Well, the first thing is, let me go ahead and make a send here. On your mixer, you will see, if you're on an analog console, they're called auxes. Auxiliary sends is what that stands for, with a knob on each channel. What you would want to do is figure out what aux send, which again is just sending that signal to an aux as well as the mains. So you want to figure out what aux corresponds with that bass player's monitor mix, and then turn up the knob until they give you the thumbs up. And that's really it. If you are in a digital console, which most people are nowadays, there's a few different ways to go about this. There's a mode that you can go into, which is sends on fader, which basically, rather than going to each individual channel and then going to the corresponding knob, you can hit a button and that takes you to aux 1. And then you would mix aux 1. Okay, I need kick drum, snare, so on and so forth. So how you get there is highly dependent on your console. I would recommend, if you're not 100% sure, checking out YouTube or the owner's manual with where exactly those auxes are and the different ways that you can engage it. Especially with digital, there's almost always different ways you can engage it, but that's some concepts to keep in mind. So anyways, let's say we want to send a little bit of the kick drum and a little bit of the overheads to the bass player here. So, and we already have figured out on our pretend live console here what the sends are. So this is send 1 and 2 if you're in stereo. So what you would do then is, as we play the track here to simulate the sound check, you can see the mains, which are the speakers facing the audience, in this case the monitors on my desk here have signal coming through them, but this bass player doesn't have anything coming through his monitor yet. Well, that's because the knob here, aux 1, is turned down. So what we want to do is slowly turn that up, and now we can see that on his monitor send, his or her monitor send, that we're now getting some signal in there. So we bring that up until they say we're good. A little hot, we'll bring it down. Cool, so we'll say that's enough kick drum, and we'll move on to overheads. As we can see here, overheads is down, so now we will move this up. And we can see this level being sent here. And it's really as simple as that, right? Let's go to monitor 2. Let's do the same thing. And let's say this is just the guitar player, and the guitar player only wants kick and snare in their monitor mix. So what we would do then is we would figure out exactly what aux the guitar player is going through. In this case, we'll call it bus 3 and 4. We can say on a live console that might be aux 2, right? We would look for that knob, and then we would turn it up. I'll get this all routed here. So for the guitar player, we would play again, or have the drummer play. I got it, come on. There we go. And then we would move this up until they got an appropriate level for them in their monitor mix. And let's say that the guitar player is using a direct rig, they don't have an amplifier, and they want a little bit of guitar in their monitor as well. Not an uncommon ask at all. We would then go to the guitar channel and then turn that up in their sound. So we can see there that we have 2 discrete mixes, and really the process after that is the same. Whoever's on monitor 3, you would just turn up each channel in that aux, or go to sends on fader and push up that fader and until they have a level that they're happy with. There's a couple things that I want to talk about here. You probably noticed that with each send that I brought up in Pro Tools, I clicked this little blue button here. That button says pre, and what that stands for is pre-fade level. What does that mean? Well, when something is set up to have a pre-fade level sent, that means that the level that is being sent through the aux knob, through the fader, whatever it is not dependent at all on our main fader here, or what the audience hears. So, okay, what does that mean in practice? Well, let's say, for instance, that we are messing with the bass player's monitor mix, and this isn't in pre-fade mode. It's in post-fade mode, which means that this would be affected after the mains. What does that mean? Well, if we play it here, you can see initially there doesn't seem any change at all, right? But if we turn down the level, I'm going to move the guitar here just for sake of illustration. Okay, so we've got kick, snare, overheads going to both channels here. So if I were to turn down the fader for whatever faces the audience, you can see here that now not only can we not hear it as the audience, but the monitor for the bass player, which is in post-fader mode, also doesn't have anything coming through. Meanwhile, the guitar player, because this is still in pre-fade mode, does have stuff coming through. So that's super important when you're setting up a monitor mix. Most live sound consoles will have pre-fade enabled by default on either all or a few of the channels, and then will typically give you the option to switch between what you want pre and post fade for another number of channels. Okay, well, why would you want post fade then? Well, for auxiliary sends, we typically will have things like chorus, reverb, delay coming in, where it would be more appropriate to have a post fade level coming in. But for the sake of monitoring specifically, we want to make sure that we have pre-fade mode engaged if it isn't already. So if I switch this back to pre-fade now, you'll see that the kick drum is still turned down, but now the bass player has the kick drum back in their mix. So it's as simple as that. Now, a couple other things. Once you introduce monitors to the mix, you obviously introduce more of a potential issue with feedback because monitors are going to be facing musicians. Those musicians are sometimes holding microphones, or the monitor's close to whatever microphone is set up in the case of a drummer. Typically, if there's a drum fill monitor, the snare drum hi-hat mic might be pretty close to that speaker. So you want to make sure that you have your gain structure for your input set up properly so you run into fewer issues. The other thing you want to do with that is ring out your monitors, which is essentially going through your monitors ahead of time to be able to find those problematic frequencies and then remove those. And the good thing is I'm currently working with a friend who owns a live sound company in the area, and that's going to be a video we do probably sometime mid-January, which is we'll have a complete live rig setup. We'll go through, talk about exactly how to ring out monitors so you have that knowledge. So that's coming soon. If you haven't already checked out our video on input gain structure, I highly recommend doing so. And we'll end the video there. So thanks again for watching. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments below, and we'll see you soon.